Tuesday morning. Now, it's been a great, almost the end of the month right now, so I'm sure that all of you are looking forward to the paycheck as well, because this is a very important week for all of us who are employed. We get to see what our hard work has earned for us during the month. So it's always great to meet you on the last week of the month. You're here with me, Amaya, and of course we've got a great show lined up for you today as always. Now, speaking about some interesting things that I've been doing, I've been watching the movies that have been nominated as Best Picture for the Oscars, and that's something I do every year. I make sure that I watch all the nominees and then decide which ones are my favorite. Now, Philomena is one of the movies that have been nominated for the Best Picture, and it was a very, very touching story. It was the search of a mother who had given away her baby when he was very young, and to be to be adopted actually, and her search for him 50 years later. A very, very touching story, and of course I enjoyed it a lot. And Friday's show on Good Morning Sri Lanka will be all about the Oscars, so that's a great show for all you movie fans to tune into as well, and it's going to be a very, very fun show as well. But speaking about how important children are, parents go through a lot to make sure that they have the best when it comes to their children, and the best lifestyle, the best education, the best that the money that they have can provide for them. But of course nutrition is something that is very important for children as well, and that's what we'll be dealing with on today's show, on the first segment of today's show. And we have with us our resident childcare expert. That's become her moniker on the show now, and she's of course here bright and early this morning to help you out with some of the eating disorders that might be prevalent among children. So good morning, Arundhati.
Good morning, Amaya.
We have Arundhati Sivagurunathan on the show on this beautiful Tuesday morning. So how have you been?
Good.
I'm seeing you after a while actually.
Yes, you've been missing.
Yes, I think I've been the one who's missing. Arundhati has been pretty regular.
I've been entertained by Jason.
I see. Always very entertaining. Jason never fails in that regard. But today we're speaking about something that in my experience comes up a lot in Western culture actually. In a lot of pop culture it's been discussed during the past few years, but of course it's becoming more prevalent in Sri Lanka, I've heard as well, and these symptoms are there, and this is eating disorders in children. When you speak about this topic in the context of Sri Lanka, what are the real issues that come up, Arundhati?
Well, number one, let me start explaining what eating disorder is. Very simply, it is a disorder where either you overeat or you restrict your food intake. Right?
Consciously?
Consciously.
Okay.
Very consciously, you don't want to eat much. Right? So, this pattern is actually very dangerous. It can be self-harming. Right? And to give you a background on this eating disorder, now it is actually very scary. Where a child, it used to be an age set of 12 plus, where they were like self-conscious or image conscious, as you said, where they wanted to look nice or curtail their food patterns. But now it is a case where it's young as 9 years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, where it's a severe case in other countries, but even in Sri Lanka, I feel it has not come to that kind of outbreak yet, answering your question, but there is quite a lot of percentage which goes through eating disorders.
So eating disorders, they are directly sort of correlated with body image, is it? And how you perceive yourself, and is it something to do with the fact that you're very conscious about how you look?
It's like this. The most common three eating disorders are, there are a lot, but the most common is anorexia, bulimia and binging, right? So if you break this down, anorexia is what a person does is they are so conscious about their body weight that they don't want to eat, thinking everything is going to turn into fat and they are going to be fat, right? That is one extreme.
Oh,
right?
I see.
And bulimia, what happens is where when they intake calories, they want to eat, but at the same time they are worried of overeating, and they either purge or vomit to make sure that they don't gain weight, right?
So they try to rid their bodies of whatever they eat.
Yes.
Okay.
And third one is overeating, that is binging. right? So these are the most common 3 factors. So I wouldn't say it's only self-esteem or self-image. There are other factors where it is psychological, even behavioral patterns, and of course, as you said, social patterns of life.
I see. So we'll discuss some of these causes later on, but if we can go on to the first disorder that you spoke of, which is anorexia.
Yes.
I think we have a video on standby as well, so let's go see that video and come right back to the studio.
When diet and exercise become an obsession, the problem may be bigger than just wanting to look good. Learn to identify anorexia, a mental condition that can result in self-starvation, with these tips. You will need objectivity and anorexia nervosa information. Anorexia nervosa is potentially life-threatening. If you believe someone is anorexic, get them immediate medical help. Step 1. Be aware of changes in eating habits of the person you suspect has a problem. Notice if they skip meals, make excuses to not eat in public, pick at food, or spit it out. Step 2. Notice if the person exercises excessively or works out vigorously after meals. Denial of a change in habit can also signal a problem. Step 3. Watch for mood swings and personality changes, including irritability, negativity, low self-esteem, withdrawal, perfectionism, or an inability to cope. Personality changes are associated with many different medical situations, not just anorexia. Step 4. Notice if your friend begins to wear baggy, loose-fitting, or layered clothing. This may be an attempt to hide dramatic weight loss. Step 5. Ask if your friend has missed periods. Missing 3 or 4 periods in a row is a danger sign. Step 6. Be aware of any new sensitivity to cold and the growth of fine hair called lanugo on their skin. This is the body's way of trying to keep warm. Step 7. Watch for symptoms of poor health, such as thinning hair, jaundice, and bruising. These symptoms are caused by vitamin imbalances. Step 8. Seek medical help. While any of these symptoms may indicate anorexia, only a trained professional can make an accurate diagnosis. Did you know? As many as 10 million women and 1 million men in the U.S. have severe eating disorders.
So those are statistics that are quite real, aren't they? But when we speak about children, now if you focus on, you mentioned earlier that it can start as young as 9 years of age. Why is this? Why do you see something like this happening when you're 9 years old? I feel like that's the time when they're least self-conscious, and you can play and you do whatever you want. It seems the age of innocence, but if children are aware of what their bodies look like and they want to look like people they see on TV, then that's it's a big social problem as well, isn't it?
It is. I think without knowingly, I think parents, coaches, everyone is also responsible for their overreacting about their body weights, because I think at home, without knowingly, even as parents, we try to discuss a lot about our body weight, what we eat, and it without knowingly the child thinks they should follow it as well. But of course you need to know the media is very dangerous when you see the celebrity figures, where we think there's this specific body figure you should have and everyone is striving to be there, where the friends influence also come in, and it is especially females are very vulnerable to this.
Definitely. I can imagine, because when it comes to peers as well, when there are certain people who look a certain way and they are regarded as beautiful or pretty, then you want to be like them as well. And
not that males are not, but they say the scale is every woman, every 25 women, one will suffer from one of these eating disorders.
Oh wow, so those statistics are not
very
something
high.
to joke about.
Not at all.
That's not at all desirable.
No, it is not very
so
desirable.
Is this something that's more prevalent in Asia as well? Because you have a very, in a way, although we live in modern society, it's quite patriarchal as well. The males sort of take dominance, and it seems sometimes that there's a perception that they can do no wrong, and women are held to impossible standards. Is there something like that as well when it comes to Asian women, and especially when it comes to countries like India and Sri Lanka, where women are held to impossible standards?
No, I think it is all over the world now, because I think this whole perfect image came down from the Western countries, where now it is like a rat race of the Asians also trying to get into that kind of beauty, and I feel it is like overblown. But see, don't get me wrong, I think everyone should have a nice perception of themselves and a self-image, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't balance it.
Definitely. So if you want to help out a friend who may be suffering from these eating disorders, especially anorexia, and we'll be also speaking about bulimia or binge eating, or if you yourself feel that you have this need and you yourself are putting yourself under pressure to follow any of these eating patterns or outlandish diets, then we have some advice for you. Of course, medical help is always recommended, and we will always say meet a doctor and consult a doctor before you take any type of special diet or special eating patterns as well. So with that, we're going for a very short commercial break, but we'll be right back on Good Morning Sri Lanka. Do stay with us.